One of the reasons why so many people stop the fat is because of cholesterol. Would you agree with me? So let's have a look at cholesterol. It's a good time to look at it because the liver makes cholesterol. And by the way, it makes cholesterol according to the demand our body puts on it. And 80% of the cholesterol that the liver makes is made from glucose. And 20% of the cholesterol that the liver makes is made from fat. Now, this information tells us straight away it's not the butter on the bread, it's the bread under the butter that's the problem. And that's what Atkins found. So let's have a look at cholesterol. There are two main types. One is high-density lipoprotein called HDL, high-density lipoprotein, and LDL. HDL is usually called the good guy, and the reason for that is it's the carrier. So it carries excess cholesterol from the blood back into the liver. That's why it's called the good guy. LDL is called the bad guy. But what you've got to remember is the body doesn't make anything bad. It has a role. So what is its role? Its role is that of a repairer and a rebuilder. So wherever there's damage, you're going to find LDL because it's the repairer and the rebuilder. But it plays another role. It delivers cholesterol to the brain because the brain loves cholesterol. Cholesterol to the brain. Now let me show you something briefly. We're going to look at this in further detail later. Glucose burns at 4 calories per gram. A calorie is a unit of energy. That's what glucose burns at. Whereas fat burns at 9 calories per gram. Can you see why the brain loves fat? Because fat is going to give more than twice the units of energy, and our brain cells, they're consuming fuel fast. Let's have a look at the blood vessel and how the cholesterol works in the blood vessel. Because of its low density, LDL is always on the edge. Because of its high density, HDL is always in the middle. Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride, who wrote the book Put Your Heart in Your Mouth, she spends the first 4 chapters of her book defining what damages the arterial wall. See, the arterial walls are lined with little endothelium cells, and chemicals damage them. Heavy metals damage them. There's your mercuries. Also, what damages them is mold. And we're exposed to, she defines, the reason why it's 4 chapters, she defines all the different chemicals. They're in toothpaste, they're in food. What's going to plug the holes up, students? The LDL cholesterol, that's its role, that's its job. So it comes along and it plugs up. If it doesn't plug the hole up, we would bleed into the tissues. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. So they're like the Band-Aid. But the person doesn't realize that the moldy house is killing them. The person doesn't realize the 4,000 cigarettes, 4,000 chemicals that are in a cigarette. So they keep smoking. They don't realize the danger in their washing detergents, in their toothpaste. So can you see that it's still happening? And they read an article that says, no, mercury does not kill you at all. Well, I haven't read the science. You know, it's a neurotoxin. Can you see what's happening? Something else is happening. So all through the bloodstream, we've got little molecules of protein. When a person is on a high carbohydrate diet, releasing a lot of glucose into the blood, the glucose connects with the protein molecules, and these little combinations become sticky, and they stick. And let's say we've got a narrow piece here, and they come along and, oops, they've caused a blockage. That is the number 1 cause of heart disease. That is the number 1 cause of a stroke, is this little blockage here from the movement of the combination of the glucose and the protein making it sticky molecules. On a low carbohydrate diet, you haven't got that process happening. To blame cholesterol for heart disease is like blaming the fire trucks for the fire. It's like blaming the ambulances for the accidents. Well, they must have caused it. Have you noticed that they're always there? Can you see that reasoning? We have quite a few books in our library at Misty Mountain, and I'll write them down at the end of the lecture. I realise I didn't write down yesterday's books. I'll do it all at the end of this lecture. The Great Cholesterol Con by Dr. Malcolm Kendrick. Notice what he calls his book. He's a cardiovascular surgeon, the Great Cholesterol Con. And this is what he said in his book. For the first time, normal levels of a normal, vital body substance is being called a disease. We have a book, an Australian doctor, Dr. Peter Dingle. His book is The Great Cholesterol Deception. We have another book called The Great Cholesterol Myth by Johnny Bowden. And there is an e-book by another cardiovascular surgeon, Dr. Dwight Lundell, called The Great Cholesterol Lie. We have another book called The Great Cholesterol Hoax. We're running out of words. And in her book, Put Your Heart in Your Mouth, Dr. Natasha Campbell-McBride, she's saying the same thing. These people don't know each other. They're from all over the world, and they've come to the same conclusion. It is not cholesterol.